Capital Farm Credit and Wednesday Night Podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we've got Stamford softball coach Cynthia Herrera joining us on the show.
Yeah, it'll be fun to talk to Coach Herrera. Obviously, she's done a great job at Stamford. They've got a very, very good softball team this year, led by pitcher Lady Gutierrez. And they've got a big series coming up against Cisco and really big goals for the remainder of this playoffs, this year's playoffs. So it's going to be fun talking to Coach Herrera just about what this team's hoping to accomplish, what she thinks this team is capable of, and really just about the season in general. So I'm looking forward to getting her on here on the podcast this week.
And before we do that, we want to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stamford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And Dan, before we bring on Coach Herrera, I just wanted to touch real quick on the state track and field meet and some of the top performances that we did have over the weekend. Our player of the week was Victoria Cameron of Stephenville, who just pulled off something remarkable. You don't see somebody chop off nearly 4/10 of time on their personal best. It's an absolutely remarkable performance for a gold medal.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think she came in seated 8th, so that was a huge, not necessarily an upset, but I think we knew what she could do. However, when you look at times, I think you're right that you don't expect that kind of drop in time in that short a race. But she was a girl who had not lost a race all year long in either of her specialties, 100 or 200. So she obviously really wanted to win that 100, and she came close to doing it in the 200 as well. So she had a monster performance out at state, and we had several others who did some really special things. One that comes to mind immediately was Wiley pole vaulter, Kyler Aguilar, a kid who had finished second in the 4A pole vault as a freshman. He finished out his high school career with a gold medal, winning the 5A boys pole vault with a really good performance. So that was good to see as well. And again, those are just a couple of many kids who really did some special things down in Austin.
One of the stories I thought that was pretty touching that came out of there over the weekend was Jenna Van Cleve from Hamlin in the discus. She was on her last throw, the last throw of her career, the last throw of the competition, the last throw of her high school career, and she needed a personal best to win the gold medal. And on the very last time she's ever going to throw the discus in her lifetime, at least in a competitive sense, she threw 122.11 to win the Class 2A state championship in girls discus.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a cool story. Another one was you had the Brock boys win their state championship as well. This was a program that had never won a region championship in the team competition, and they go and win a state championship. And we had several other teams who did a really nice job, made nice showings in the relays. The Haskell girls come to mind. Cross Plains boys and girls both represented well. Just a lot of really strong performances, and you can read about every single one of those on our site. We had recaps from each of the 3 days, so make sure you check those out, and it'll give you kind of the full list of how everyone did. But I mean, we always expect our area to perform well and to have a number of kids come back to the big country with medals around their necks. And this year was no different. We had some really good ones. Another one, Tate Williams from Wall comes to mind, winning silver in both the discus and shot. A personal best in the discus. So he went down there and was able to come back with a couple of medals, which is always cool too.
Okay, a couple others we want to mention. Cage Covington from Roby is going to walk home with 3 medals. He did not win a state championship, but he won a couple of silvers and a bronze. And then Kylie Cummings of Blackwell also with the same tally, taking home 3 medals from state.
Yeah, and then I think one we probably need to mention before we move on to baseball and softball playoffs is Vance Ott of Coahoma, who won both the 100 and 400 wheelchair races and finished second in the wheelchair shot put. So he had a big meet as well, coming back with three medals and 2 golds. So just this time of year is always fun because you get to see a lot of kids who put in a lot of work. And that's the thing about track is even talking to some of these kids, they'll tell you, track is kind of a love-hate relationship for some of these kids. They don't really enjoy the practice. So to get where you want to be in track, you put in a ton of hard work, and it is just that. It is hard work, and it's fun to see these kids get rewarded for that. So congratulations to everyone who ran or competed at the state meet, and especially to those who were able to come back with medals. Every single one of those kids deserves credit, and congratulations to all of them.
Okay, we're just about ready to bring on Cynthia Herrera, the head softball coach at Stamford, onto the show. But before we do that, we want to thank some of our sponsors, obviously Capital Farm Credit, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game broadcasting. And Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give him a call at 325-669-5153 or go to his website at philhillproperties.com. And finally, Jack's Road Boring out of Snyder, dirt sales and services. With service and experience you can count on. Larry Green is the man to call out there. Give him a shout at 325-575-8004. That's Jack's Road Boring in Snyder. And with that, Mr. Youngblood, sir, we have a special guest. We have Cynthia Herrera on board tonight. Our ball club in Stamford is about ready to take on an athletic crew from Cisco, which is always a challenge to take on Lady Lobos in anything. And that's what they've got looking forward ahead of them. And one of the best pitchers that I have seen in my 15 years of covering Big Country softball, Lady Gutierrez. First time I saw her pitching as a freshman, I said, that girl's a D1. It's the first time I saw her. She's a freshman. That girl's D1. She is now signed with UT or committed to UT.
Obviously Stanford is
let me clear that up. She is now committed to UT.
So obviously Stanford's having a great season, and Citlali's a huge part of it. And I know they've got a lot of unfinished business ahead of them that they want to make a run and a deep run. So it's been fun talking to Coach Herrera about that. And like I said, with track, with the state track meet being a fun time of year, to me, the baseball and softball playoffs are one of my favorite times of year. When you get this many teams playing in postseason series, a lot of our teams end up facing off with each other. And if you look at our pairings, we've got several instances where that's the case here. Just a really fun time of year where you get to see the best compete against each other. And you get to see a lot of really good baseball and softball. And we're seeing a lot of that currently. So I'm a pretty happy sports writer right now.
All right. And it's just about time to bring on Coach Herrera. Y'all set?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get on.
And joining us now via Zoom, Stamford softball coach Cynthia Herrera. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, you had a lot of big expectations this year, and I'm sure there was probably a little bit of pressure that you guys are feeling coming in. How did you handle it?
I think after not having a full season last year, I think our main focus, I know it is just being able to be back on the field and being grateful that we're actually able to have this opportunity. So I don't think the stress of it, I don't think any of it has really gotten to the girls much. I think it's just more of, hey, we get to have fun again. We actually get to get back on the field. So I think that, yes, there are high expectations, but I don't think it's gotten to them at all.
And obviously the lost season last year to COVID made everything unique really for everyone. But in y'all's case, it's kind of interesting because I guess 2 years ago with Citlali as a freshman, y'all were kind of the upstart team with kind of an unknown pitcher that had so much success there. Now this year, you skip last year with COVID and everyone kind of knows what y'all are. Everybody kind of knows what to expect facing y'all. Has there been any change in mentality from your team, just maybe from going from a team like kind of the hunted to from the hunter to the hunted?
Yeah, definitely. I think after you said the 2 years ago and then this year, we're beating 6A schools, we're beating 5A schools, 4A, 3A. And so, they know they're good. They know they can hang with the best. And so it's a little bit of, oh crap, they're coming for us. So we got to watch our backs a little bit.
Coach, you touched on this a little bit, missing last year to COVID and the girls just being glad to be out. But talk a little bit about how hungry they were, because we were looking forward to a deep playoff run from Stamford from you guys last year, and everybody just had to sit it out. How hungry was everybody coming in?
Well, one, I think we went to summer workouts. We were able to do summer workouts this year, and I mean, it was like we hadn't seen each other in years when we finally, got to come back to all of this. But it was, I mean, it was a long fall. I really feel like it was long. But I mean, the girls are like, man, we're so ready, coach. We're so ready. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm ready. But I think just everybody kind of took it for granted, that we were able to get on the field every day. We were able to play games. We were able to do this. And then something so passionate that, you're so passionate about gets taken away. And so it really does humble you. But for me as a coach, I mean, I was expecting last year, I mean, we were going to make a deeper run than what we did the year before. And I know for a fact the girls felt the same way. And so for that to get, taken away, I mean, we're kind of like, dang, man, imagine what we could have done last year. And there's not a doubt in my mind that we would have went past the regional quarterfinals.
And one thing I've heard from talking to a lot of coaches since last year, since the COVID shutdown, was they've talked a lot about just the experience lost. I mean, you lose a lot of really important district games, you lose the playoffs, and granted, everyone's in kind of the same boat. But what impact is there for a team like yours that is trying to kind of make that next step in terms of losing those playoff games, that experience that y'all would have had last year?
Right. I put a lot on my juniors right now just because, I mean, they did lose that their sophomore year, which, they're still quote unquote, babies. But this year it's kind of like, hey, like, you guys are juniors. You're the ones who've got to step up. And it was almost like, wait, what? Like, we're juniors? Well, it's us now? Like, yeah, it's you. Last year you would have been sophomores and you would have had another class above you. But I mean, this year it's you guys. And so I think that my 5 juniors that I have done a fabulous job of stepping up and being leaders and coming through when we need them. And so, their mentality has it's been extraordinary seeing them on the field, communicating. And, I 2 years ago, it was, hey guys, we got to communicate, barely talking to, I mean, those 5 have stepped up tremendously. And now they're, mentoring little freshmen and sophomores. And so I'm real proud of those kiddos stepping up.
Coach, you've got Cisco up next. And while Cisco softball might vary in their strengths from year to year, one thing that Cisco always has, 2 things they always have. They always have athletes, quality athletes out of that school, and they always have a winning mindset because they're successful in just about everything they do. So you've got a challenge heading into this series. What's your mindset going in?
Our mindset is just they're another team. They're just another team, and this just another game. I really, really do think that we're going to have to fight a little bit harder than what we've been fighting. Our district wasn't very, very strong. We had a bye in the first round. And then we finally got to play this past Saturday. So we haven't played a lot, but I definitely think that we're gonna have to work hard for this. It's not gonna be given to us. I was unaware that these girls have history. They've played against each other since they were little girls. So this is something that I didn't know until a couple weeks ago. So
are some of them friends, or is this more of like a rivalry thing?
This is more like a rivalry. Yeah,
Really?
I had no idea. And so, today we were on the way to Trent to practice, and they're like, oh yeah, and this girl and that girl, and they're just, they're trading information, back and forth. And I'm sitting in the front and I'm like, yeah, like their mindset's right. We're ready for this. So
okay.
And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier as well, but y'all did play a very tough non-district schedule, played a lot of bigger schools, had a lot of success against bigger schools to kind of prepare yourselves for this. Just how beneficial do you think that was, and just how much will that help going forward?
I'm really hoping that, it does a lot for us going forward. I did that for a reason. 1, I know these girls can hang with some of the best. And 2, when your district's not going to be very strong, but come 3, 4th, 5th round of the playoffs, you're going to see some girls who can play ball. I was like, yeah, we're going to have to see strong opponents. And so that was my mentality going into this season, was we need to see strong teams. Because I think 2 years ago, we weren't ready for Windthorst. We weren't expecting Windthorst to be that good, just because, the district wasn't strong, and what first and second round wasn't very strong. And so now that we're a little bit familiar with third, fourth round and how it's going to go, my mindset was we got to get prepared for the playoffs. And so they did a great job hanging with those big guys, and we upset a few teams. And I mean, we had girls that playing like, y'all are 2A, and the girls were like, yeah, we're 2A. But I think they did a great job hanging with the big schools, and they showed out. They can play ball. They can hang with anyone.
All right, Coach, as it turned out, was your district maybe a little tougher than you thought? Because we still got Anson and Holly still alive.
Yeah. I think that I think they're a great team. I just know, and we know, that further down in the playoffs, there's tougher teams to play. In the end, Anson and Holly are great teams, and I think that playing us probably made them better. I'm not taking anything away from them. I just felt like we needed to see tougher competition, especially when we head to the postseason, and we're seeing teams from South Texas and from anywhere that we haven't recently seen. So just preparing for what lies ahead, and we're going to meet up with somebody who's going to be just as tough as us, and so that's what we're getting ready for.
Okay. And Coach, just from talking to you, I mean, it's clear that this team isn't necessarily shying away from the expectations it has. You've talked a lot about a deep playoff run, talked about those deeper rounds. What are maybe some of this team's stated goals, and kind of what is the potential of this group?
Every year I ask the girls 3 personal goals, and then 3 team goals, and a lot of them, and remember what it was like to what's funny is we're driving to Trent, and they're like, Herrera, did you see your memories on Facebook? A year ago today, we got knocked out of the playoffs against Windthorst. And, the girls are sitting there, and we're talking about it. And so I know that left a taste in their mouth that they didn't like. And, it's May 11th, and we've talked about playing until June. We want to keep practicing, and we want to still be out here come June. This team wants to go to state. They want to go. They've talked about it, and we've worked for it. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that they can go. And there's not a doubt in my mind that, I think they can win it all. It's just getting out there, playing Lady Bulldog softball, showing up. And it's going to take every single one of us, not just 9 on the field. It's going to take all 16 of us to win this series and to hopefully win it all.
All right, Coach, obviously you have to, take care of business against Cisco. But if you do and get past them, taking a look around the region and what's ahead, what are some of the teams that concern you?
I think, there's a lot of teams, and there's 4 different regions. And so obviously you can't go to Corpus Christi to watch, a series. So, there's teams out there where, we don't know anything about them other than their record. And the same goes for them, when they're talking about us. But I definitely know from the regional quarterfinals on that every round's going to be tough. And so, if you're in, you're good. But for the past couple of years, I've been looking at the UIL bracket, and Crawford's name's been in there. Thorndale's name's been in there. And so, you've got these teams where you don't know much about them. All you know is that they've been at the state tournament. And so more than likely they want to go back. So my biggest thing is I'm probably more than likely going to be new. But it's almost an advantage. They don't know anything about us. So we're really just going to stick to what we know, and that's playing ball and taking care of business, and taking one game at a time.
Coach, generally speaking, any team that does make that kind of run, does so with a pitcher in the circle that helps lead him there. And y'all are very blessed, obviously, with Lady Gutierrez, who's just been fantastic for y'all, really her entire career. Just how big of a blessing is it, and what kind of impact does it have when you have that type of pitcher in the circle who is kind of that true ace pitcher that you can throw out there and feel really confident in?
Yeah. She's a leader. She's been a leader since the moment she stepped on that field. And she gets the girls going in the dugout. She gets the girls going out in the field. Her stick hasn't been as hot, but that's the beauty in this sport is you have teams who can pick you up when you're down. But when she takes that circle, I mean, all of us, all 17 of us, I mean, we have a confidence in her like no other, and she knows that her defense is going to have her back. She's the real deal. Obviously, she's committed to D1, but we're very fortunate and very blessed to have somebody who can throw that good.
Coach, talk about. Now I know she's approaching 300 strikeouts for the season, and when you get that many outs via strikeout, that's taking a ton of pressure off of your defense. Yeah. I mean, she's taking care of a lot of the outs herself. Can you talk a little bit about that aspect of having her?
Right. I actually had a conversation with her on Wednesday, and we were just talking in general, but I told her, I said, I hope you know that, I don't expect you to strike out everybody. I mean, that's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. But the crappy part is nobody really gets to see our defense because nobody can touch the volley. And that's just the truth. Luckily for us, we did play a lot of games in the preseason to where there were some girls who hit the ball off of her, and our defense did get some work. But I think she knows that she's played with these girls since she was little, and we have a good defense. It's just a matter of, well, are they going to hit off of her so they can see our defense?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there's another factor too, because of the effectiveness of her rise ball. When they do make contact, often weak contact just pop-ups were just easy out. So that's another factor. When they hit her, it's usually an easy out.
It is, and it's either because she is a high ball pitcher. She, her rise ball is her go-to. And if you make contact, more than likely you are going to pop up, or she throws so hard, it's going to go over the fence just because she does keep it up in the zone. But that whole thing is, well, can you catch up to 63-mile-an-hour fastball? So, but there's not a doubt in my mind that our defense can't play defense, because they can. It's just a matter of, well, are they going to be able to hit Sitlali? So, we expect from a lot of teams, a lot of short ball. We expect a lot of bunting. We expect a lot of slapping, just because we know they can't make contact. And so we work a lot of that in practice, and we expect it.
And how much confidence does that also give to the offense, knowing that if you can scratch, a run or two here, a run or two there, that you have a really good chance to win just because she's going to go out there and do what she does in the circle?
Exactly. And that's the whole thing is, Sitlali does her job in the circle, and we've got to have her back, and we got to come up and we got to hit the ball. And, she hasn't been hitting the ball very well this year. She's only got a, 2 something batting average, but I mean, that's the beauty in it is all other 8, all other 7. I mean, we're hitting the ball and we're getting on base, and we're executing when we need to. So, I mean, it's been everybody's got a job, whether you're on the bench, whether you're on the mound, whether you're in left field, everybody's got a job, and it's going to take all of us to win. Everybody's got to do their job.
Coach, I've been out for some ball games out there in Stamford, and I've always been impressed by the size of the crowds that you get and how vocal they are. You get some really good support out there.
Yes, it is Bulldog Nation when you come over here. It's really cool. We fill up the stands, and then in the outfield everybody's out there in the back of their pickups, and you got lawn chairs along the sides of the fence behind first base and third base. And it was the same thing when we went over to Forsan, and I expect the same thing tomorrow, and I expect more just because it is 40 miles away. So, we wouldn't be here without our fans, and we've got some loyal, we've got some true Bulldog fans, and we're grateful for them.
And this is shifting gears just a little bit, but in this area there are some nice facilities. There are some nice atmospheres. Other than your own home field, what are some of your favorite places in this area to play and to take your team?
I like ACU. I really do. I grew up in Abilene. I happen to know a little bit of people who work there, and it's close to home. But other than that, I mean, we don't mind playing up north. We're familiar with Iowa Park too. They've got a nice facility. Hermley's got a nice facility, but I don't really care where we play as long as we get to play.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we will be keeping an eye on this, close eye on this Cisco series. So best of luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All righty.
Appreciate it, Coach.
See ya. Bye.
Coach. And that was Stamford softball coach Cynthia Herrera heading into a very big, important series with Cisco. Cisco is never to be taken lightly. They just have too many athletes out there and a good winning attitude.
Yeah, and they obviously probably surprised some people with how easily they were able to handle Coleman in the area around, being in 20-0 and 14-0. So they come into this series with a lot of momentum. So that'll be interesting. They've hit the ball really well, but they're going to run into a different beast this week in Lady Gutierrez. This is not going to be like anything probably faced this year. So that part's going to be fun. Just watching Gutierrez go against good offense.
The pitching is going to be a step up. The pitching is going to be a step up, no doubt about it.
Yeah, as it almost always is anytime Gutierrez is in the circle there. But that's a good conversation. I enjoyed talking to Coach Herrera, and I thought I would, obviously. But she comes in, you can tell that's a confident bunch. It's a bunch that's not shying away from expectations. They're not really bowing to any sort of pressure or any sort of expectations for them. They're kind of facing that stuff head on, and I think that's good. They should. This is a really good team. They've been battle tested against some really good bigger school teams. And when you look at their non-district schedule, it's pretty crazy how many of those schools that they played and really competed with or beat from larger classifications that are still playing in the third round, and some of which will still be playing next week as well. So They played a lot of really good teams, really showed well against those teams. This team's legit.
Absolutely. Now you got a 1-0 loss to that Iowa Park team. They played Holiday. They played up a bunch of times. They played good teams from Clyde, from Eastland, from Wiley. These are all schools that are bigger than theirs.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, schools that are ranked teams. That Iowa Park team I got to see play against Wiley early in the year, and that is absolutely a legit bigger school team. And like you said, they played them to the wire. So yeah, this Stamford team, anytime you have a pitcher like Citlali, you got a chance. And they've done a really good job of building around her in terms of being able to field the ball when they need to, be able to scratch across runs when they need to. And it's going to be fun to see kind of what they can do the rest of this playoff run.
And with that, it's about time to wrap up the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday Night Podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we have an annual, a 12-month subscription where we knock the price down to $3 a month. 12 months, a full year for $36, a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you that if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, they are available for just $7 each. You can click on that small shopping cart icon to the bottom right, follow that prompt, and purchase as many of those as you would like. But if you scroll around our site, you'll notice that we're at a whole lot of events, and we take a lot of photos from those events. That's something we really enjoy doing, and something we take a lot of pride in here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.